Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is Adam Davis, and this is episode 105 of the Fintech Insider Breakfast Show. As you know, in this show, we bring you the best and the brightest from around the fintech and banking landscape every single weekday, straight to your homes at 8:30 BST, apart from on Mondays and Wednesdays when we go live at 3:30 BST or 10:30 ET for our US friends. Both shows go live here on LinkedIn. Today's topic is an interesting one. It's around looking around the way that, given the situation that we're in, the lockdown, and the differing ways of working that's brought, how fintech revolutions in areas that we haven't necessarily touched before have been started or facilitated by this kind of new way of working. And joining me today is the one and only Ali Paterson, editor in chief of Fintech Finance. How are you doing, Ali?
I'm doing all right at the moment, Adam. All good here at the moment. I'm actually I've been enjoying the break in the summer. It's been nice. It's been nice.
You've had a break. This is good.
I say break. We took a couple of days off at the end of last week. Did a bit of
Ah.
little bit of socially distanced sailing down in Kent.
Oh, lovely. Oh, wow. That's like, yeah, that's a really good staycation. I mean, I've heard of some staycations where people they don't really veer that far from their house, but that's like a proper, that's awesome. How was
Yeah,
the
I
weather?
haven't. Yeah, I haven't really kind of ventured out for all the people doing the camping and booking the campsites, and yeah, Bournemouth terrifies me at the moment heading down that way. So I'm going to kind of sort of
Yes.
stay clear of there.
Yes, it does. Yes, this is true. Listen, to everyone who's watching, as always, love to get your questions, your comments, anything you want to ask Ali, then just stick them on the LinkedIn comment sidebar, and we will answer them for you. So
Not
first of
my
all,
team, because they have a history of stitching me up.
Excellent. I will make sure I'm keeping a BDI on that. So, first of all, like just brief background. I mean, you're well known. I feel like I'm interviewing the interviewer. But do you want to give a background, obviously to Fintech Finance, but yourself actually, and how you ended up as editor in chief?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my background is film production. You will find me on the credits for the first Captain America film. Um,
Wow.
so obviously the next stage was fintech, but I ended up working actually working at Global Data, and then
Oh, yeah.
off the back of that, I started and founded Fintech Finance in my kitchen with my brother-in-law, which
How,
was
how
yeah bizarre.
how many years ago was that?
5 years ago now.
5 years ago.
5 years ago now.
And
And
it's interesting because I know we're talking about something, but we'll just stay on this for a bit because it's what gave you kind of the switch to say this is you're working in a pretty good job for a very reputable firm. What's the sort of the switch in your mind that says actually, do you know what, I'm going to go off and do this? And what was the opportunity you saw?
well, I mean, the part of the firm I was working for, I there were a few issues around there, and I thought, do you know what, we why are we not doing this? And
Right.
I just did. I found myself. I basically created like a video product there, and I realized that I was basically using them for invoicing, and that was pretty much it. So it just made sense. It just made sense. I don't really have a good kind of sort of legendary story, but yeah.
Captain,
Uh,
a credit on the Captain America film is pretty cool.
yeah, that
I
was
must say that is pretty. I suppose just one quick more question because I've kind of wanted to ask you, what out of the last 5 years, what's been, I suppose, your favourite piece of content so far? Like, what's been the story that either you've broken or that you've commented on or wrote about, and you thought, like, that's really cool?
I mean, I'm a big fan of your friends at Curve. That's kind of no secret. For me, in terms of stories, the Curve Amex saga is incredible. It's like it's the ultimate fintech version of Ross and Rachel. And I hope it gets back on, because that's going to be a huge amount of Amex points straight away. That's going my favorite piece of content. It's got to be the payments race.
Oh, of
Kind of
course, yes,
inappropriate to do that this year, though. That would be
yes. Yes, yes, of course. Yeah, well, yeah, it wouldn't gain as much traction as it probably it once had.
the wrong sort of
But
attraction, probably.
yeah, well, you wouldn't have any runners. But yeah, I
Wuhan
get.
to Milan, the payments race.
Okay, all right. So today we're going to talk about financial innovation revolutions in remote places, and we can kind of go off and veer into different areas off the back of that. But I suppose just first of all, like you obviously cover a lot of stories and you cover a lot of fintech. But why in particular is this area an interest of yours?
I am a capitalist, and these are the yeah. It's very easy to look at financial inclusion and think, do you know what this is? Um, you can kind of go down a bit of a woke tunnel with it, but it's a gold mine. It's a blue ocean. It's a massive opportunity. I mean, we talk about Monzo starting Revolut in this country, and well, hey, we passed 1 million, 3 million, 13 million, but then you look at somewhere like Nigeria. There's 100 million people there without a bank account but have got a phone, and it's so yeah, the opportunity is huge, and it's definitely a long-term opportunity. It may not pay dividends in the first year, but it's building for the future.
Yeah, and I suppose I mean, there's all sorts of uh, it's sort of synergies with how you build infrastructure, how you build sort of payments infrastructure, to launch a bank account in one of these countries, and how you do it in a cost-effective manner, and a whole, I suppose, ride of things that need to go into making this kind of decision. I suppose from your perspective, are there any examples of? I mean, you mentioned Nigeria and Africa is obviously top of mind for me when I think about this topic. But are there any sort of geographies that you think are, I suppose, at the moment ripe for disruption? And if it is, um, what are the sort of the characteristics of those geographies that mean that new digital banks that can serve the the underbanked would succeed?
Yeah, I was in Mexico last year, actually pretty much a year ago, and one of the people I was interviewing there at Citibanamex was telling me that he'd actually just come from the US to Mexico, and he says it's because Mexico is now where China was 20 years ago. And I've taken what he said there, and that sort of stuck with me. So for looking at new areas, it's areas where there's an opportunity to leapfrog. You've got a lot of people with phones. You've got a lot of people that have almost kind of sidestepped and bypassed going down the traditional opening a branch, going in a branch, opening a bank account. Mexico, I kind of almost feel the boat's been slightly missed on that to try and start a new bank there, because in the last 12 months, it's just you've got Klar, you've got Alba, that's absolutely ballooned.
Mm.
And again, it's because you have, I don't think it's quite 100 million, but you've got a fair few people out there with a phone who don't have a bank account. I mean, Mexico is a great opportunity. It's still a great opportunity for expansion. The other area I've got to bring up is Indonesia,
Hmm.
because I mean, Indonesia, Muslim country. You also have. I was chatting to, and you got to get them on the show. The CEO of Risk, which is a new Islamic bank in the UK. And I was like, so where else are you kind of looking at expanding? He was like, oh yeah, Indonesia, 100%. So because you need to go down the Sharia compliance route, and a lot of people there again with a phone, but no bank account.
Yeah, and it is interesting because we've I mean at 11FS we've done a fair few feasibility studies here and there, looking at potential new banks, new digital only banks in countries, and we've sort of got a sort of a mock framework, if you like, of well, if there's some form of interest from, or there's already sort of infrastructure plays from the payments companies, be it Visa, Mastercard, one of the schemes, plus there's, I guess, a population which is of, I guess, the right kind of age. Obviously, mobile phone penetration, which is, from a distribution perspective, extremely key. All of those things need to sort of stack up. But the one thing that we always look at is, I guess, the regulatory system in country. So, we talked about Nigeria earlier on, but do you think like those countries, I guess, have the right regulatory maturity to be able to put this in place? Mexico, it sounds like it does, but from your perspective, certainly on maybe some of the other continents, are you seeing sort of a wave of, or a maturing, I guess, of regulatory schemes that will enable these kind of new banks?
Well, Mexico had their new fintech charter, which again was brought towards the middle of last year, that went live, and that was, I think, written in about 12 months.
Yes.
So if they don't have the right you've got to then work with them to actually create it, because a lot of places, they don't have the laws in place, they don't have the rules in place. They will do, and they'll probably change a lot faster. And generally speaking, it could probably be a lot faster than the likes of, say, the EU or the US.
Yeah, and that's like, and again, I guess one of the things that again that we look at is the cultural nuances, I suppose, and
Oh yeah.
um, and how difficult is it to get it? So we've worked in Africa before, and we've actually worked on creating a new bank in Africa at 11FS. And one of the interesting things around a Pan-African proposition essentially is the different cultural nuances between the countries. If you look at Europe, it's a similar setup, or be it actually, culturally we're a little bit, I guess, similar in Europe than potentially we are in Africa. But again, it's about, how can you expand from country to country and actually grow sort of a pan-continental proposition. And I suppose if you look at the new neobanks, I guess, in Brazil and in Mexico, how easy has it been for those companies to be able to get culturally to get their propositions right? And I say that from the view of they're going up against legacy organisations who have been around and have sort of steeped in the culture of the country, and how difficult it is to create a bank, if you like, which has got that sort of cultural nuance to it.
Well, I mean, as someone that's created several, multi-million, billion-pound banks,
You've spoken to many of who have, though.
yeah. I mean, Nubank. That if I was an established banker, that would terrify me, because the speed at which that grew was just.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the U word, unprecedented. And it absolutely blew it. I can see similar things coming out of the likes of Nigeria, of the likes of South Africa. The kind of thing that makes me think about a kind of a Pan-African offering is similar to the US. The US is, even on a regulatory level, isn't just one country. The US is every single state plus Canada. Well, it's not, you know what I mean, like, in terms of market opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine it's quite a similar thing. And culturally, again, you've got French speaking, English speaking. There's a variety of different cultures, but also then subcultures within each region. I mean, you look at the likes of South Africa, you've got your Durbanites on one side and then your Cape Townians on the other.
And I get, yeah, and absolutely. I guess we talked at the top of the show around how, I suppose, lockdown has changed the way in which access to these markets has changed access to this market, either for good or for bad. People maybe have more time, if you like, to take a meeting in sort of further flung places, but then obviously to serve these markets, especially if you're sitting in the UK, is a lot more difficult because of boots on ground and things of that nature. And I suppose, like, how do you think that that the fintech world has been enabled, or has been further, I guess, catalyzed by the ability to have these kind of conversations and make these conversations kind of the norm?
I feel I'm primed now, Adam, to plug your latest report.
Oh, please do.
Oh yeah. I mean, 11FS knocked out a brilliant report about banking as a service.
We did. I didn't write it though, so I can't take any credit. But I'll for the purposes of this show, I will.
Well, it does seem now like, again, I often parrot people much smarter than me. We did an interview with the CEO of Indo, which is a challenger bank in Iceland, and he got it was amazing. He got so incredibly passionate. He was saying, "Why are banks so focused on being technology companies? They should focus on being banks." I know you've got people out there who are much better than I am at developing an AML, and it's kind of arrogant to think that we can develop this AML system, we can develop this payments process, or we can develop X, Y, and Z. We should literally farm it out, work in an ecosystem, use third parties. And he got quite, very, very, very passionate about it. But it's true, because the barrier to entry around technology, that cost has gone from billions to. I'm curious of how cheap you could get a card on the market and actually be able to make payments. I mean, you could probably do it for under $1 million if you had a lot of luck on your side.
You you definitely could do it. I think for under 1 million these days. It depends which geographies you're serving, and it probably depends on your legal entity structure and things of that nature. But yes, you probably could. It might not look like the greatest card in the world, but you probably could get it done. It is amazing, and I think the added. A lot of people have said that certainly at the beginning of lockdown, we're trying to get used to the concept of Zoom calls and whatever else. But actually, in some respects, because this was always all around before, video calls, but I suppose the maturing of it and sort of the general acceptance of it has actually, opened up. I mean, I certainly speak to a lot more people now just because of the nature of being on Zoom, and I can speak to people, all around the world. And there's no sort of break between meetings, which is a good thing or a bad thing. But it means that you're opening up access to a lot of different people who have, potentially a spare half an hour here and there to talk, where normally that would have been taken up by things like travel and whatever else. So it has definitely sort of opened our reach, if you like, even if actually, I suppose, fulfilling those projects has become harder because of boots on ground. Before we spoke, you did mention something about you knew a guy who was building a bank in Sao Tome.
Yeah.
So first of all, for those who don't know, where is Sao Tome? And second of all, how is he finding it?
It's an island nation off the coast of Africa. It's kind of a crazy place. There's a Russian tank on top of the mountains there. No context. There's no Russians who've never had any military there. So the argument is that it basically fell out the back of a plane when flying over. But it's a small population. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I think it's sort of sub 1 million population, but again, very much underbanked, very digitally native. So there's a guy that I was basically messaging. Actually, no, he pinged me, and I've got a press release, and hopefully we're gonna get a little video with him. Looking to start a bank out in Sao Tome and Principe, which would be pretty amazing, I have to say, because it's a country that I haven't heard of, and now they're looking to build a brand new digital bank there.
Is the I mean, I am interested. You might not know, but do you know who the regulatory licensee is there? I mean, do you know which country it's kind of attached to?
I can assure you, I have no idea.
Nice. Maybe they've built it themselves. That's cool. We've got some questions that have come in. So first of all, David, and apologies if I get these surnames wrong, David Shawluz says, is BaaS, banking as a service, a solution that can fit all players entering the financial market? In your view and what you've seen, what do you think? I can give my view on that in a sec. But
that's actually a really, I hate saying, that's a really good question, because that's usually what people are trained to say to give them time to think. That genuinely is a really, really good question. Yeah, mate, it's not. I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think there are certain types of organisations, perhaps more on the private side, that maybe BaaS is not so suitable for. But I think, yeah, pros and cons. It's good for speed, very good for speed. And look at it. For example, we talked about Mexico a moment ago. Looking at Mexico, how fast that's grown in the last 12 months. Speed is going to be quite essential.
yeah, it's good for speed and it's great for cost as well. So keeping your initial cost of capitals down because of the way that you're paying and because of the generally the subscription nature of it, and the accessibility and the availability of and ease of connections and all sorts of stuff. But again, it probably does depend which geography you're starting in. Speaking of that, Raul Madolka says, "Hi Ali, any particular geographies doing better than others during this period?" You can define what better means. But are there any? I suppose.
New Zealand's doing all right.
Oh yeah. Oh well, yeah. Well, with Corona, probably more within the confines of fintech.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that, to be a little bit patriotic, I think the UK in terms of fintech. I mean, I love winding up Americans and saying, "Oh, that's so adorable." You think that New York is the financial capital of the world. It's always fun to wind up, especially Sam as well. But I think the UK is very, very good for fintech. Similarly, I also think that Lithuania has also proven itself with its regulation, but also the availability of talent out there as well. I think has proven to be quite is punching so far above its weight. Lithuania in the fintech space.
Yeah, it managed to secure itself a significant niche, we should say, especially with the ability to get licensed out there. For they've done themselves pretty proud over the past few years. Dan Feeney, quick thanks for joining again, Dan. Quick question from him: any comments on the new entrants Sync and Ziglu?
Ziglu is awesome. I can use this to announce a little thing where one of my team is actually going to be making a. Don't know if you followed any of our fintech wraps. Every month we do a little wrap of the latest fundraising.
So Simon is a fan. He shared
them. Ape Diagnosis is his stage name. He's going to be doing a wrap for Ziglu.
We should have a show about it. We should bring you guys on so you can we'll have a wrap off.
I don't know, Lewis. He's really good, Lewis. I think we're going to be sampling your Ned as well, Chris Skinner, in the next one.
Oh wow! I wouldn't have seen him as a rapper, but you never know. Yeah.
If you get him, check out Chris Skinner rapping. It is unforgettable.
Very cool. Very cool. I will. I'll definitely look out for that. Let's talk very quickly about some success stories and who I guess has taken advantage of the opportunity. We've mentioned Mexico. We've talked about sort of movements in Africa, we should say, and Pan-African products. But do you see, I guess, the way that we work now, and I suppose, if we don't go back to normal for a while, 18 months, 2 years, is there a new fintech revolution based on the way that we work? So, as much as new digital banks were brought in specifically because of legacy costs and being able to serve the masses and the millennials, and branch infrastructure was dying and whatever else. Do you see there being sort of another wave of fintech innovation off the back of just the fact that everybody is sort of at home and can only travel a certain distance and whatever else around the world? Or do you think it's more that the current products on the market will just sort of be tailored to fit?
It's going to be a kind of mixture of both. One area that seems to have been absolutely ballooning is private wealth. The likes of Free Trade, 212, all of those guys, Avatrade, seem to have done incredibly well over the last few months.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, the lucky ones that have managed to kind of maintain their jobs, still be able to work, they can't splash out on a holiday or eating out every night or whatever. So what do they do with that money? They just go and put it in Tesla, which is probably one of the reasons why.
Which would have been a good shout if you'd done it a few months ago. It's still a good shout, actually. I think it went up 11% yesterday. So yeah.
Oh, geez, that terrifies me. But I think that kind of world of wealth, that is quite a big opportunity there, because it's that money that would have been spent on the likes of restaurants is now being translated into kind of stocks and shares. So not your big kind of 100K plus trading, but more that, all right, I'm going to spend £500 this week on Tesla or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you've seen is that the batch uploads, if you like, from the backlog of, if you like, millennial traders or nouveau day traders actually can move the market. You've seen it with Tesla shares, Zoom shares, but you've also seen some significant corrections in the market when these orders are fulfilled. So it does make a difference, the additional volume. Just one quick question before we wrap. In fact, it's more of a point. Jordan Drew, who I think you might know, says, Ali, I think your background would look better as some sort of green screen studio setup. So there's a tip for you.
Should I? Yeah, okay. Check this out. This is me showing off a little bit now.
It is, because all I have in my background is a door hanger. So you really are.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of. Actually, it's been incredible, because we've been doing a lot of remote interviews against that kind of sort of green screen and stuff like that. So it's certainly been entertaining. Yeah, there you go, Jordan. There's the green screen.
There it is, isn't it? Wow. Wait, is that just a wall painted green, or is that actually a green screen?
It is. It was about a week of getting the green from under my fingernails. It was everywhere.
Lovely. Well, sounds like a productive week. That's awesome, man. You've got a great setup. All right, we've come into the top of the hour. Everyone's got days to get to, I am sure. Thanks for Ali. Always a pleasure.
Got to get on the tube.
Got to get on the tube. Yeah, you got to get into work. Central London waits for no man. Ali, where can we find out more about you? Contact details, obviously, Fintech Finance. But yeah, what's
Yeah,
the best way of getting hold of you?
I'm not on TikTok yet. So best is to I'm on Twitter at Ali Paterson. I'm on LinkedIn. I posted a thing around I'm getting through them all. I posted a thing around people with disabilities and banking, and my inbox is full on LinkedIn. And I'm slowly working my way through them. So yeah, I will get I will get on there. But yeah, no, LinkedIn, Twitter, absolutely.
Cool. All right. And that's all we have for today. Tomorrow, join the great Samuel at 3:30 BST, 8:30 ET for the US version of the show. He'll be joined by Jeffrey Lay, who's a wealth coach, a fintech evangelist, and trusted advisor, no less. But that should be really cool. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good day.